Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here with Joe from France, and we're going to be discussing basically stuff that he thinks I should know about France so that we can continue our discussion about France. And one of the things is the articles on the rights of man. We're going to compare it a bit with the American Bill of Rights and the American separation of church and state compared to the French separation of church and state. These are the things that I have on my mind. And so, Joe, how are you tonight?
I'm fine, and you?
Doing well, thank you. I mentioned separation of church and state being more solid in America than in France, and you took exception to that because of laïcité, or what is the French word?
Laïcité.
Laïcité. And so should we talk about that for a minute? I think that's an interesting point about, I see the French funding the mosques, and then you say, but that's only the cultural and educational side, right? Is that where it stands? So what is...
Yes.
How do they fund only the cultural and educational side of the mosques?
I guess, so I don't know exactly why they do that, but I guess it's because the government in general or the state in general give money to all cultural stuff in general, But here I think it's not an issue of separation of the church and the state, but it's more an issue of the statism in France in general. Because it gives money to everything in general, it gives money to the cultural aspects of the religious establishments, like a library, because it gives money to all libraries in general. So yes, so I think it's more. In this aspect, it's more the statism in general that you have in France more than an issue of separation of church and state, because French are very, very strong, I would say, in somehow very aggressive, even against individual freedom, because of laïcité, which means secularism. But it's a different. We use a different word because it's a different concept, more aggressive. Yes, we in general, France are very restrictive about religion. So I don't think it's an issue of separation of church and state, but more statism in general.
They're restrictive about religion. I mean, as you say these things, I'm putting all this stuff through my mind with the Muslims in the background, and it just isn't ringing particularly true. I mean, separation of church and state, yet funding mosques because there's the cultural side and they have libraries and they teach stuff. I mean, doesn't that sound insane to you?
They give money for every... I guess, even if you have different religious institution, all the aspect which is not directly related to religion can have money, but not the religious aspect.
See, I just think that's bizarre. I think that's an unprincipled way that they look at it. And that's in your basic, is it in this Declaration of the Rights of Man?
No.
Where does laïcité come from? How recent is it?
Yes. Since the revolution, you have the principle of the freedom of religion, etc. But as a matter of law, it comes to be very concrete in practical matter. We have the law of the separation of church and state in 1905. We have a law which is the very famous law which implemented the separation in practical matter in this law. But of course, the general principle and the general idea was here since the revolution.
And you say that the state can make. Maybe we better look at exactly what it is. You say the state can make no law abridging the exercise of freedom of religion. Is that the general idea? Now, what should I search for? French laïcité?
It depends. If you can search for French laïcité, yes, or you can search for this law, the 1905 law. It depends.
French 1905 what law?
If you separate the law of the separation of the church and the state. But I guess if you...
Well, I'm just wondering why it's gone so wrong. That's all I'm wondering. Because it appears to me that they had some sort of machinery in place to protect the state from the church, or vice versa, and that's been completely overrun by the Muslims. Somehow. And I think the way that it was done was through this cultural exception, that they can fund cultural and educational parts. So then they set up a government body to make sure the mosque is doing cultural and educational things, and the mosque proves to the government that it's doing those things, then the mosque gets a check. All right, so I found the 1905 French law. Did you want to say something to that, or?
No, I'm not sure it worked like that, but I don't have, maybe I lack information about this precise topic, because in general, it's not, there is a lot of debates in France about the subject of Muslim and stuff like that, and the relation with the separation of the church and the state. But we never discuss about this fact, that you seems to focus on the money for the library or restaurant. In general, we focus on the fact that the Muslim in general criticize our law of the separation of the our concept of laïcité, secularism, because they think it's not the same, it's too restrictive compared to the other countries, the concept of secularism in United States, for example, or in other countries. They always take the example of the US, and they say in the US we are free we are more free to be Muslim than in France, because you have in France this concept of secularism, laïcité, which is very restrictive. For example, in school we cannot have religious sign. We cannot wear a niqab in the street. We cannot. There is a lot of things that they cannot do, and they can do in other countries like the US or some other countries in Europe. But they cannot in France, because we have this concept of very restrictive secularism, laïcité. So in general, that's how the debate is set in France.
Right. Now, I'm looking at Article 2, Title I Principles, Article 2. The Republic does not recognize, pay, or subsidize any religious sect. That would be fine, but there seems to be an exception for that for cultural or educational aspects of the religious sect. Right? It says below, exceptions are enumerated regarding schools, colleges, hospitals, asylums, and prisons so as to ensure the free exercise of religion in public institutions. But the Republic does not recognize, pay, or subsidize any religious sect. Now, see, I think that, there's this whole list of things about it. What you end up doing is saying you'll pay for the educational aspect of religions, right? And that sets certain religions in stone, or cements them in place with the good word of the state behind them.
I guess it is regarded as a. Again, I can only do hypothesis because maybe I don't know enough on this subject, but what I can do is hypothesis because we never discuss that. It's never an issue of debate or something. But maybe in France in general, all the cultural stuff is. Yes, there are money when you are even artists. They have money from the government. So, in general, I guess it's like a foreign language in university, in college. You can study religion, for example. You can be a theologian, and it's government education. And you can study. You can make a study of Muslim religion, or Jewish religion, or any religion. And I guess it's part of the same idea that you can study, and the fact that you study whatever you study is funded by the government.
Right. So you've got Muslims funded or Muslim mosques teaching Muslim material with Muslim libraries in France.
I guess so. I'm not so expert in Muslim stuff, but probably yes.
Yeah, it seems it's been that way for 20 years or more. I mean, these councils that I thought were put in place sometime in the early 90s at the very latest, possibly sometime in the 80s. These were well taken over by Muslims and rubber stamping all of the stuff that they needed to rubber stamp to get support for the mosques. And the American government and the British government had to go in and do anti-terrorism surveillance on these mosques. And then the French government stepped up and started closing a bunch of them and found huge weapons caches inside of them. But these were state-funded, state-sanctioned mosques.
Yeah.
So that's the separation of church and state I see going on in France. I don't see it. I see you paying mosques to spread disease and filth and hate. That's what I see. That's what I see on the ground going on. I don't see a separation between church and state. And I think I understand where it comes through, is that exception for education and libraries and cultural. What's the cultural aspect of Islam? What's the education? What education in Islam? What does education have to do with Islam? They are antithesis to each other. So,
yes, I agree.
There we are. Okay. You know, it just occurred to me. I guess that we're not doing this into a French version to put on in France, are we? So I guess we're okay. I mean, I'm saying
we could, but I have to maybe to get more information about this, because you seems to focus on something that maybe, because I don't know, maybe it's, I'm not sure. I can't imagine that there is, because not so much mosque have a library or something like that. So I guess majority of most mosques don't have any money from the government. But I'm not sure. I have to get more information about that. I need more preparation on this specific subject.
Yeah, I thought they couldn't even build a mosque without the government granting them the land for it. So I think I think the government's pretty involved in every mosque, and okays it and rubber stamps it and approves it and everything. I think. I mean, yeah. Okay, so let's just draw a line and leave that for further conversation then, because that's my view of it, and I guess I'll have to look into more and get proof and sources on this funding of mosques and stuff, and you look into your aspect of it. Should we go to the rights of man, Declaration of the Rights of Man?
Yes, if you want.
All right. So we found quite a few similarities between this and the American Bill of Rights, which were interesting. Article 1, men are born and remain free and equal in rights. Social distinctions can be founded only on the common good. Boy, that's a little scary, that language there. What do you think of that?
I guess you think about the second sentence.
Yeah, social distinctions can be founded only on the common good. Social distinctions. What's that? What is that in the French? What's the French sentence?
Okay, I have to have the text in French.
Social distinctions? Does that mean like doctor and lawyer, educated station, or what?
No. I don't think so. So the article in French is les hommes naissent et demeurent libres et égaux en droit. Les distinctions sociales ne peuvent être fondées que sur l'utilité commune. So it's it's not common good in French. It's common utility. But anyway, as I understand it, so it says social distinction. Yes, I guess. So this sentence is it's very strange somehow, but here is how I understand it. What they mean by social distinction is inequality, I guess, but they wouldn't say inequality, but somehow it means like there are people who are poor and people who are rich, and all the intermediate between those. I think this is what they mean by social distinction. It means by distinction you have to understand differences, and social in the wealth or in the society, your place in the society. You see,
So is this against a declaration of kings? Then they're saying we can't have a king. We all are equal. And you're only more distinguished than somebody else if you contribute to the common good more than somebody else?
Somehow, yes. It means, as I understand it, it means this is the end of social distinction based on birth, like a wrong society, feudalism. And this is now a social distinction that can be founded only on what is your contribution to society.
All right. So
I guess you can. I think you can have two interpretations of it. You can have a kind of socialist interpretation, and you can have a pro-capitalist interpretation. I think, because you can say also, okay, it's your market value. If I want to give a capitalist interpretation, but I think both can work, because at the time there was no socialism. You have to keep in mind that nobody was in the set of mind that a socialist set of mind. But so you can say yes, your social distinction will be based on your market value, how you succeed, your success in the market, and this is how you contribute to the common utility. But you can say also a socialist interpretation that yes, you have to make that if you're rich, it has to be because you contribute to society and not for your personal interest. So I think you can have both interpretation. I guess I'm not. It would need to study in subject what they have in mind when they wrote this. But I guess it was. I guess what they have in mind more primarily. It was the end of the society where your social distinction, if I may say so, was founded on birth.
Right. So it's against aristocracy or a king of some kind or something like that. Okay.
Absolutism. Not king, but absolutism.
Right. Caste system or whatever. Yeah. Okay. So Article 2, the goal of any political association is the conservation of the natural and imprescriptible rights of man. These rights are liberty, property, safety, and resistance against oppression. Fair enough. I mean, can't argue too much with that. The right to safety and the resistance against oppression do come together. I'm glad there's no comma after safety there. What is the French in that? Are safety and resistance against oppression a unified thought in the French version? Or does safety stand alone as a concept?
What? Sorry?
Is there a right to safety, or is there a right to safety and resistance against oppression?
This is, I guess, the translation in English is quite faithful. It's in French. It's these rights are. I have the text in French, and if I translate it word after word, these rights are the liberty, the property, the safety, and the resistance to oppression or against oppression, I guess.
Okay.
This is exactly, yes, this is very faithful translation.
Yeah. I'm just a little skeptical of the right to safety. You have a right to protect yourself, but the right to safety is a little weird. Okay, Article 3, the
You can translate security.
All right. Liberty, property, security, and resistance against oppression. Right. Well, the right to property would be the right to be safe and secure in your property. So maybe they've added one extra thing and it's a little verbose, but no big deal, I suspect. Lots of parallels between this and the American Constitution.
For sure.
Okay, Article 3. The principle of any sovereignty resides essentially in the nation. The principle. That means, what does the French word principle come from there? What are we dealing with there? The principle of any sovereignty. By sovereignty, they mean the authority that rules?
Yes. Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so...
Yes, this is who ultimately decide. Who to be accurate, who rules? Who rules?
And the nation rules.
Yes.
Nobody, no individual may exercise any authority which does not proceed directly from the nation.
I found this article was a good article against anarchism.
Oh, really?
Anarcho-capitalism.
Huh.
You don't have the protection agency ruling.
Yeah, wow, that's a very powerful article. Do you think it causes any problems?
No.
No? It's all good?
No, I don't. I don't see any issue with this article personally.
Okay. All right. It's a very powerful article. All right. Article 4. Liberty consists of doing anything which does not harm others. Thus, the exercise of the natural rights of each man has only those borders which assure other members of the society the fruition of these same rights. These borders can be determined only by law. Now, do you think the modern French state is being true to that liberty consists of doing anything which does not harm others? No, you've got drug prohibition and stuff, right?
Oh, yes. No, I think the French the modern French government is really far from the rights of man and of the citizen. Really far.
Yeah.
But it's in our constitution. It's supposed to be at the top of our legal hierarchy. But I think it's not respected, really, because we are always in France. We are always impressed by the fact that the Americans take so seriously their Bill of Rights with the First Amendment, Second Amendment, etc. As opposed to us, I guess we don't take this text seriously. Somehow it's yes, it's historical. It's understood in a very blurry way. Like okay, it's for tolerance and it's for living together and that's it. And then nobody read it. It's amazing.
Wow. Maybe part of the reason that France is so bad today is just simply a lack of education about your history and your roots.
Maybe, but it's funny because this text is on the wall of every school in France. It's you have this text. You can find this text almost everywhere in France, but it seems that nobody understands it really. Maybe we will continue article after article and we discuss this after. But I asked to one of my relatives what was for him man's rights, and I think his answer was interesting because I think it was representative of the most answer of most French, what most French would say, I guess. But maybe we will discuss that after we've done all the articles.
Yeah, you're teasing me a little. I want to know what his answer was now.
Okay. Actually, he was. I tried to ask him what was man's rights for him. He said, but I haven't read it. And it was when I tried to push him. It was first he was not thinking about speaking of man's right as a principle, as a philosophical principle that you can define. He was speaking about the text, an historical text, like history, like it was for him he said it is the text which set the ideal of our republic. But I say yes, this is true, but what is this ideal? But not with what it say in article after article, but in matter of principle. And it was very hard for him to because he said, I never thought about that. And so I tried to push him, and he said, okay, I think it's what the rights of man are, what the government guarantee to you for the society, so that all the people in the society can live together. That was his definition.
Well, we certainly see some roots for his attitude in Article 3 there, that everything proceeds from the authority of the nation. So I can see where he gets the idea from, for sure. But that's unfortunate. They don't have a principled understanding. Their understanding is just, it's just some stuff written some time ago.
And it is the ideal of our republic and what the government guarantee. But that's it.
Okay, interesting. Well, that's just the average French attitude, huh?
I guess yes. I think a lot of people think it's a text, use it or understand it as a text against racism, very often, or a text for feminism also, very strangely today. But it's today interpretations, like a text for tolerance. It's very strange.
So they just project whatever their garbage beliefs are on. That's what they think that the Articles of the Rights of Man had in them, huh?
Yes. Somehow they think it's just to be kind, to be equal, and I think that there is a lot of focus on equality, I guess, for some people.
All right, well, let's go to Article 5. The law has the right to forbid only actions harmful to society. Boy, that's bad right there, because there's no such thing as society. You can only harm individuals. So that's strange.
Yeah.
Anything,
I understand.
anything which is not forbidden by the law cannot be impeded, and no one can be constrained to do what it does not order. All right, so that's fair enough, but the law has the right to forbid only actions harmful to society.
Yes, I understand that you see a problem with that. And of course, maybe it's not a perfect formulation, and it's leave open interpretation. Yes, again, it's a little bit like the first article. You can have a socialist interpretation, but I guess when you harm in an individual, you can take it as, yes, it's an individual from the society. So because I'm not sure they understand when I don't know if when they write it they were thinking about collective entity, something like that. It was just like society, people in the society, like people, But it, of course, it leaves open. The choice of word is very important, and of course, it leaves open different interpretation. You can take it now, but I think it's now. It's today that we could take in the 20th century that you could start to think, oh yes, society as a collective group. But I'm not sure at the time when they wrote this, they were thinking of this way. I think they just were thinking about people. But yeah, but of course this is not, this is maybe not the perfect word.
Well, yeah, being maximally charitable, we could read it as saying harmful to society as opposed to the individual harming himself. Either he harms himself or he harms somebody else. So if we give it maximum charity, we could read it like that, and that's fair enough.
I think the focus is on harmful. I mean the focus is not on society. The focus is to say that we don't have, because the second sentence, anything which is not forbidden by the law can be impeded. It means that if it's not harmful to society, okay, but if it's not harmful to anyone, you don't have to forbid it. Okay. I think this is what they have in mind. I think, of course, it's my interpretation. Maybe I might be wrong, but
okay. All right, fair enough on that one. Article 6, the law is the expression of the general will.
This is Rousseau. Yes, this is the influence of Rousseau. Here it's very obvious. It's Rousseau. We know it anyway. Yeah, this is the concept of general will. It comes directly from the social contract of Rousseau.
All the citizens have the right of contributing personally or through their representative to its formation. It must be the same for all, either that it protects or that it punishes. The right of contributing, the law. Okay, all the citizens being equal in its eyes are equally admissible to all public dignities, places, and employments, according to their capacity and without distinction other than that of the virtues of their talents. So is that taken to be against racism and against misogyny?
No, not this article in particular, but or don't. I think you don't need to ask me. Oh, this article is taken as no. People don't read article. Don't read more than the first article. So, so no, I think. But of course, the concept of general will, yes, it can be interpreted as a very collectivist statement, and I think it is. In this case, it's very directly from the philosophy of Rousseau, but most people interpret it as something very democratic, as opposed to autocratic, as opposed to the king who decide. That the society collectively decide, democracy. I guess most people interpret it like that.
Yeah, and that's a fair interpretation. It's just a little suspicious, like you say. It's Rousseau's philosophy in there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Article 7. No man can be accused, arrested, or detained but in the case determined by the law and according to the forms which it has prescribed. Those who solicit, dispatch, carry out, or cause to be carried out arbitrary orders must be punished. Any citizen called or seized under the terms of the law must obey at once. He renders himself culpable by resistance. Okay, I wish more people. I wish we had that on every bumper sticker and every police car in America. People could.
Okay.
You render yourself culpable by resistance. Yeah, I can't take exception to that. Article 8, the law should establish only penalties that are strictly and evidently necessary. No one can be punished under a law established and promulgated before the offense and legally applied. Okay, no post facto law. Any man being presumed innocent until he is declared culpable. If it is judged indispensable to arrest him, any rigor which would not be necessary for the securing of his person must be severely reprimanded by the law. Any rigor which would now, is that just lingoese for you have to have a warrant or something like that?
You what?
Is this just legalese for you have to have a warrant to arrest him? Any rigor which would not be necessary for the securing of his person must be severely reprimanded by the law. So they're only allowed to use those rigors which are necessary.
Wait, I read it in English, in French.
Article 9.
S'il est jugé indispensable, arrêtez toute rigueur. Actually, I didn't remember this article. I'm not sure to understand it completely. The end. S'il est jugé indispensable d'arrêter toute rigueur qui ne sera pas nécessaire pour s'assurer. Oh yeah, I'm not sure to understand the end of this article. It say if we have to arrest him, any rigor, I don't know what they mean by this, which will not be necessary to secure, I guess, this person should be, I guess it's, oh yes, I understand. Yes, it's when you are, okay, everything is said in the first sentence, in fact, when they say, any man being presumed innocent until he is declared culpable, it's for the protection of a man who is accused.
If it is a judge, then if it is judged indispensable to arrest him, then you have to be gentle when you're arresting him?
No, it's just that he if he is arrested, it doesn't mean he's still innocent until proven contrary. You know, it's a clause like he's okay. Every man is innocent until proven guilty.
Okay, is that basically the whole claim there?
Yes, but in some case you have to arrest people, but they are still considered to be innocent until proven that they are guilty. So we have to protect them, even if we need to arrest them.
Okay. All right, Article 10. No one may be disturbed for his opinions, even religious ones, provided that their manifestation does not trouble the public order established by the law. So there's the freedom of religion, freedom of thought.
Yes, and I read something like the sentence, even religious ones, was it was on the point to not be in the, because at the time of the revolution it was almost about to forbid religion. It was but they were believer people, and they fight to say no, we have to have freedom for every opinions. So they had even religious ones, because they were so upset against religion because of the religious power and stuff. So they say, okay, even religious ones.
Now see, I go back again then to the point I had made before, that France became a powerful country to the extent that it did by bucking off religion and becoming less religious. Is that the case then?
Maybe, yeah.
So part of it's, I mean, it seized all of the monasteries and stuff and the cathedrals, and seized all the church land and money, and stopped letting the church have so much power, stopped letting the church the religion be so powerful. Yeah, I think that was the part of the advance in modern France. But you said, but they remained being a very Catholic country, if I recall.
No, I mean, I guess you refer to our conversation in the video for the French audience.
Was it in there?
Because I said to you, France is a Catholic country. But yes, France is a Catholic country. I mean, because if you have to choose a religion which dominates the country, it's still the Catholic religion, and not the Protestant religion or any other. Even if Islam, of course, is growing very fast. But in general, what I want to stress, compared to all countries in the world, and especially the US, is that France is a very non-religious country in general. Very atheist somehow. There is a poll that showed that 63% of the French population is non-believer or non-religious. And it's almost a record in the world. Maybe China is more. China is the first country where there is not so much religion, but after France, after China, you have France. So you have 2 out of 3 people who not believe in any religion, established religion at least.
Yeah. Now, some people are pretty worried about the results of that.
Some people are pretty.
Yeah, like if you would have been more religious, would you be allowing the Muslims to come in such large numbers?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know exactly what's good or better. Is it okay to all turn into atheists and then give your country over to Muslims?
I don't know if it has something to do, because you have people who fight the invasion of Islam. Some of them are atheists. There is a lot of atheists. some other are Christian, yes, also Christian. There are both. So I guess I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Article 11. The free communication of thought and of opinion is one of the most precious rights of man. Any citizen thus may speak, write, print freely, except to respond to the abuse of this liberty, in the case determined by the law. And you guys were pretty excited about that until Charlie Hebdo. And then that put a bit of a damper on things over there, huh? But you have the right, it says there. You have the right to do everything but criticize Islam now, right? Because there's hate speech laws now, right?
Oh, there have been a hate speech law long time before Charlie Hebdo. There is a lot of laws in France that limit the freedom of speech. So maybe it's because we wrote except to respond to the abuse of this liberty in the cases determined by the law. I don't know, but compared to the US, we are agree that the US is a country where freedom of speech is really, in general, very free, very respected, compared to us in France that we have limits. We have free speech, not so much, in fact, because we have a lot of laws against. You can't deny the existence of the Holocaust. You have laws against injuries, racism, all kind of laws that limit freedom of speech, and which can be interpreted by some court in very restrictive ways. It depends. Sometimes you have politics also in the courts. You know, in the people who judge. Sometimes the judges they are very. Some judges have political opinion also. So this is that we have. I think we have a big problem with freedom of speech in France. Even if our article is in the. But again, nobody take this text seriously. This is my feeling. But yeah, we are. I don't. But in general, people in France don't think that the freedom of speech in the US, like in the US, is a good model.
They don't think it's a good model.
No, in general, it depends. There are some individuals who think it's good, but in general, people think it's too much freedom. It's too much because you have too much bullshit, too much hate speech, maybe, and too much. You can say everything, and they don't like it. Yes, they don't like it so much. They think we have to set limits.
Yeah, this is definitely a message that I have for people who want freedom. You're not going to like everything that you get with freedom. You're going to have strip clubs and people publishing pornography and communists in the press and all kinds of bad stuff in a free country. So if you want a nice, tightly, well-designed little country with everything that goes well, then freedom's not what you want. But of course, you're going to run off the rails eventually with your tightly little designed country. Yeah. Let me just read real quick the American First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press.
It's very precise, and you don't have a clause like except in case of abuse by the law, you know. So you cannot use it.
Yeah, there's very little you can do with it.
It's very concrete because it says the Congress shall not pass.
Shall make no law abridging freedom of speech or the press. Actually, a guy was in the bathroom in the airport making hand signs underneath the bathroom stall to the guy next to him, and he got arrested. And he went to court, and he was in trouble for making obscene gestures, and so he actually didn't get charged with anything, and he got off scot-free because of the First Amendment. He can make any hand gestures he wants. First Amendment.
Yeah. Yeah, and in France, I guess people will find it so absurd. And as you said, so if you want freedom, you will not have. What did you say again? That you will not have a society, a gentle,
tight, well-designed, orderly.
Yes. But I think maybe in the mind of most French people, they prefer to pay the price of less freedom to have well-designed society, exactly like you say.
Yes, but it's an illusion. It doesn't work out, does it?
I agree with you, but this is how they see it.
Well, that is our project. Okay, Article 12. The guarantee of the rights of man and of the citizen necessitates a public force. This force is thus instituted for the advantage of all and not for the particular utility of those in whom it is trusted. So the army exists and politicians can't use the army for illegitimate purposes, eh?
Yes.
Or is that the police?
Oh, I think it's the police and the army, both.
Okay.
So I think it's in general it say that it's for the protection of every citizen.
All right. Article 13. For the maintenance of the public force and for the expenditure of administration, a common contribution is indispensable. It must be equally distributed to all the citizens according to their ability to pay. So that's just taxation needs to be distributed reasonably or fairly.
But it's first of all, it's we need taxation for police and army because we said previously we need police and army, so now we need taxation for this.
And the expenditures of administration.
Yes, because you have yes.
All right, so that's just taxation and the ability to tax. All right.
Yeah.
It's funny in America that we had the no direct taxation shall be laid or levied, and they had to amend the Constitution. But you guys had no such qualms. You just said whatever taxes the citizens can pay, those are the ones they pay. All right, Article 14. Each citizen has the right to ascertain by himself or through his representatives the need for a public tax, to consent to it freely, to know the uses to which it is put, and of determining the proportion, basis, collection, and duration. Boy, that sounds a lot like an ANCAP today. Taxes should be voluntary. I should know where it's going, how much of it's going there, why it's going there, who's collecting it, and how long it's being collected. That sounds like an ANCAP, doesn't it?
Yes, but the two previous articles doesn't sound like ANCAP.
No, they basically said we'll tax anybody we want as much as we need to, plus you have a right to know where it's going and how long we're going to be taking it from you.
No, it doesn't say that we will tax. They never say that we will tax as exactly like how we want.
Well, it said it must be equally distributed to all citizens according to their ability to pay. So whatever your ability to pay is, that will be your tax.
No. According to their ability to pay, it means that it will not be equal. It must be equally distributed to all citizens, but it will depend of the ability to pay. Yeah. Somehow it contradicts the previous sentence.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Because it say it must be equally distributed, not literally equally, but according to the equally according to the ability to pay.
Right. So if you have the ability to pay a given tax, then we have the right to levy that tax.
It's, I guess, Yeah, I wouldn't put it this way, but I guess it's if you are completely poor and you don't have money, maybe we will not tax you. If you have a lot of money, maybe the tax will be higher than if you are not able to pay compared to someone who will not be able to pay that much.
All right. Well, I can only compare that to the American Constitution, where it says no direct tax shall be levied. But okay, so that's such as it is. Article 14. Each citizen has a right to ascertain. Oh, this is the one we just did. The ANCAP free taxation. Everybody gets to know everything.
The Article 13 is to say that we need taxes, and we will it's for everybody has to pay, all the citizens, but of course we will not tax too much the people who cannot pay because they are too poor, I guess. And we will take. And Article 14 say, okay, now about the taxes, the people it must be decided by the people, and not arbitrarily by the power.
And it says you have to consent to it freely. Now, do you consent to it freely by electing a representative who then goes and makes the law? Is that consenting freely?
Anyway, I think it's how they understand it. When they wrote this article, I guess this is through his representative. It's by voting that you choose the amount of taxes and you consent to it. And I guess this is how they understand it. Because of course, you don't, as an individual, you can oppose the law. You say, no, I don't want to pay the taxes. No, it's by voting that you choose. I guess this article is in this mind.
Yeah, it says by himself or through his representatives. All right. Article 15, the society has the right of requesting an account from any public agent of its administration. So you can just request from the government a statement of what is going on there.
Yeah.
Article 16, any society in which the guarantee of rights is not assured, nor the separation of powers determined, has no constitution. Wow, that's a little bit jingoistic, huh?
What? It's a little bit...
Jingoistic?
Jingoistic? What does it mean?
It means you're defining other societies a certain way, saying if they don't have this and that, then they have no constitution. And I suspect if they have no constitution, then you have any right to barge in and do whatever you want to their governments. I suspect.
I don't know exactly what they have in mind when they write this, but it can be applied. I guess it can apply to our own society.
Okay.
Like if we don't have rights of man, if they are not assured, we had no constitution any longer, or maybe part of our society, like a city, I don't know, or a department, a region. I don't know if at the time they were thinking of others' society.
Yeah.
Or maybe...
I see what you mean. It's definitely pointed inwards. I was being a little hopeful about it. But so it's saying to have a constitution at all, we have to guarantee our rights and separate powers.
I guess, yeah.
All right, and Article 17, property being inviolable and sacred right, no one can be deprived of private usage if it is not when the public necessity legally noted evidently requires it, and under the condition of a just and prior indemnity. So, no one can be deprived of private property except if we do deprive them of it.
I guess I guess, again, you can have maybe different interpretation, but as I understand it, I think it's said very clearly that property is rights of man, important rights, but they have to say that when you have, for example, to pay the taxes that you need, or maybe that you have break the law and you need to pay the bill of your injury, you know, when you make something illegal, so you can be seized. So in this case, I guess it is in this case when the public necessity legally noted evidently requires it.
Right, or if the government needed to build a road somewhere and your farm was in the way, they should take your farm if they need to. Or whatever, right? I mean, we have a thing in America called eminent domain. And if the government needs your property, the government has eminent domain over you. So it's just a parallel of that, I think.
Maybe.
All right. Well, shall we draw a line there on that? Shall we go through? Maybe we should draw a line there and next time go through the American Bill of Rights. Because that was a good chunk of material we went over, a fair stopping point, I think, maybe. You want to say anything else about it?
Oh, there will be a lot of things to say about this text, but we can stop it about what I told you, the influences. There is a lot of things to say, but maybe there is an article missing compared to the American Bill of Rights. Is the right to of guns.
Yes, that was definitely, you've got 17 articles there and you definitely don't have a right to guns, but there is the right to self-defense, the resistance against oppression. But in Article 2, safety and resistance against oppression. How are you to resist against oppression without guns?
I guess it's a good question, but anyway, I will tell you why there is not this, because it's interesting. I will give you what. So there was many debates about the content of this declaration, but at the end they have to stop and decide, because they had also to write the new constitution. And you have one of the author of this declaration called Mirabeau. He proposed this article. Let me read the article he proposed. Every citizen has the right to own weapons or arms at home and use them either for the common defense or for his own defense against any unlawful aggression that would endanger life, limbs, or the freedom of one or more citizens. So this right to own guns, to be clear, was rejected as part of the declaration for the following motive. The right stated in the unresolved Article 10, because it was supposed to be Article 10, was self-evident in its nature, and one of the principal guarantors of political and civil liberty that no other institution can supply. In other words, it was so self-evident that it doesn't need to be stated. And the member of the committee added that it is impossible to imagine an aristocracy more terrible than that which would establish itself within a state by that alone, that one part of the citizens would be armed and the other would not be, that all the contrary reasonings are futile fallacies contradicted by the facts, since no country is more peaceful and offers a better police than those where the nation is armed.
Well, that's a tragedy then. That is a tragedy that you don't have a Second Amendment or a 10th Amendment as it should be, the 10th article.
But this story, you know, the French people doesn't. I get most French people don't know it.
All right, well, let me draw a line there, and then I want to do that over again real quick. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen.